You can head off.
Hello, we're in Mount Street Studios. I'm Fred and he's Charlie. We both work and live here pretty much. We record, produce and sometimes write music for local artists and people from all over the place and have a great time, I think.
We went to Falmouth in 2013.
Yeah.
Falmouth University. I did popular music and Fred studied music tech. And then sort of the courses sort of crossed quite often, didn't they? So then we started becoming closer maybe second year, and then everyone graduated and I had to move out here for personal reasons, and Fred was doing nothing.
Working in the warehouse
in Everness. And I was like, well, I'm setting up a studio, do you want to come work for me? And that's how it all sort of kicked off.
Good stuff. And Charlie, when you say you just set up a studio, was it just like that? You just figured, I'm going to do this. How did the idea come about? How did you find this space?
Yeah, it was something when I moved up here, and there was, immediately you think, right, I need to put my degree to use. So I want to see what any jobs are. So I applied for a good 2 months, 3 months, got an internship doing some work experience in a marketing thing, nothing to do with music. And then luckily this space came up and the building above was being renovated into student accommodation. And this was just dead space. It was filled to the brim with boilers and pipes, and the drum room had just coal left over in it. And we looked at it and said, this could actually work. Yes, there's no windows and it's dark and dungy, but we quite like that. And we sort of turned it into this as a family-run business.
Yeah, fantastic. And it took you, did you say about 18 months?
It's about 18 months to build, yeah. A long old slog. We went through about 2, maybe even 3 different acousticians. It's the kind of thing where if you do an acoustician in property development, it's completely different from acousticians in studio design and stuff like that. So
it's got to be perfect, really.
It's got to be perfect. There's no corners cut here. We wanted to make sure that it's just done properly, people have a good experience and they're enjoying the product that's created, really.
Absolutely. And just to clarify for people that might not know, where exactly are we?
Maid Marian, so massive big double road in Nottingham, and then we're literally just up there on Mount Street. So
opposite that casino.
Which we've never been in, but I'm still planning on getting around to it. Yeah.
One day after a particularly successful session,
or
maybe.
A long night, maybe. Yeah.
Go and ruin ourselves.
Exactly
Put
right.
the studio to sleep forever.
Great. So, where did you get the idea for the name of this place, Mount Street Studio?
Very simple. It's on Mount Street.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
we're not that creative.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, people see us as working in the creative industry, and then it was just like, what road are we on? Mount Street. Let's keep it nice and simple. Yeah. People are remembering the name, so it just works really. Yeah.
Of course. What else? And so, who have you worked with so far? You've been open for about a year now. You said.
Close to a year.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when we first opened, we did sort of a trial week, testing equipment and everything like that. We're very, very fortunate enough that through some of our friends, we had Liam Bailey in, who's done a record with Chase and Status, which is just massive. Other names such as Juggernaut, who's very, very big in the rap and urban scene here. We spent a long, long time with an American artist basically called Joey Costello, Tash Bird, Laurie Illingworth. They're all sort of popping in and out. We don't see ourselves as like a community centre, but people are always
coming turning into one. Yeah,
exactly right. And we love that though. We like that people are always coming in and giving their different ideas and stuff like that.
We filmed a live music video here with Merrick's Tusk, who are a post-hardcore band. They're releasing their album soon, whenever this comes out. I think soon.
Yeah.
February.
But
yeah, no. And other than that, we've had. Recently had Jimmy and the Strangers.
Jimmy and the Strangers, we're mixing their work at the moment.
Kind of globe-trotting band.
Exactly right. But we're not just limited to Nottingham. We've had friends who've based in Bristol now and London work, which they're constantly saying, can we come up here, record and stuff like that. So it's not just fixed on Nottingham. We're sort of broadening out, if you will, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And what have people recorded here so far? Has it been... have you had quite big, extensive projects so far, or? I
mean, the biggest project, for example, masterings, we've had people submit the whole album to us. So a lot of people say if you've recorded and worked on a mix, then you should get another set of ears to do the mastering, which is completely fair enough. So what me and Fred do is if we do a big project, I'll say, Fred, do you want to take the reins on this? And then I'll master it and sort of use a fresh set of ears. We've had EPs in here, as Fred said, live sessions, which are about 3-4 tracks. So it's not just sort of stints of one day, one track. People sort of like to get a lot down in one chunk and then slowly release it out.
But it all works. It's just different ways of managing the works. It's quite a big thing. You don't realise it when you're on this side of the glass, but when you come in and record, it's a lot of people take it very seriously, which they should. So sometimes we'll be in here for weeks doing the same thing, or sometimes it'll be, okay, we'll do a day here, and then 4 months later you'll hear from me again, and we'll do another day. So,
it is like that.
It comes and goes, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. And you mentioned about people doing some live sessions, but you've also done your very own first event, Mount Street Studio Sessions,
yeah,
which is great. How did that come about, and how do you think it went?
Talking to you earlier about sort of spaces and places to perform in Nottingham, we looked at our space, and it's a 30 square metre live room. It's not the biggest space, but it's still enough to comfortably fit about 35 people in. And we thought, why not do it? What's stopping us? There's no harm in putting on an acoustic style gig. We've got the setup so we can record it. We went straight to tape, and we just thought, let's encourage the scene. People constantly playing, and it was a great success. We loved it. Yeah.
Good stuff. And how did it come about? How did you pick how did the artists that got involved? Like, how did how did you sort of select the artists that did play in the end?
We'd worked with them all for this particular gig. With Sunflower Thieves, we mastered it wasn't their debut single, I don't think, but a single.
Their most recent one, Two Halves.
Yeah, Two Halves, we mastered that.
Laurie, we've just had in and out
Laurie's
the whole
just
time.
a mate.
And Johnny became it, and then Ollie's one of our good mates who I said earlier does publishing stuff with us. So we met him at university. He's based at London, tried London, didn't like London. Now he's back in London, so he's always up here though. Every single month he's like, I've got my bus, I'm coming up, let's do some recording. So
can't go to Nottingham.
Exactly right. Yeah, can't get away from the Midlands. No,
it was from the West Midlands. It's clear he prefers the East Midlands.
I see.
Who can blame him?
Yeah, no, exactly right.
But it turned out great in the end because they're all really similarly styled, and their music flowed into each other really well, if you know what I mean. And I don't know, it was really nice because we were kind of worried, well, that room, when you put a lot of people in a room and someone sits down with a guitar, it can either be really good or just really awkward. But it turned out quite well in the end, didn't it?
It's quite nice how every sort of venue has their own sort of pros and cons, and we spoke to all the artists after and they said, I play a lot, but I was really sort of shaken that you've got someone right there. And we were like, actually, we love that because it's quite nice. And a lot of people who they play live, probably us as well. I remember playing at Falmouth, and we had people who were sort of quite close, and it makes you go, I've got to sort of get used to this now.
You kind of be playing, and then every time you look over, they'd just be there, like, don't look there again. Then
And do you think? Well, I certainly think that there is no other venue in Nottingham quite like this. I mean, Comedian Cafe is small, certainly, but not like. I think also it's a very homely space. I think that definitely contributes to this intimate feeling.
That's exactly what we were going for.
We went together with that design, didn't we? And the fact that we pretty much live here also. So it's ended up becoming homely one way or another. But
definitely.
I mean, there's many different ways to design a studio. I think obviously, as we've already said, the most important is in the acoustics and the equipment and all the rest of it. But I think the way it looks can really influence someone's playing as well, someone's like experience.
We've had several people who they come in and go, I just feel comfortable here. And we've been to a lot of studios before when it does look very sort of futuristic. Everything's very sterile.
Space age, yeah.
And that I am a fan of that. I think it looks quite nice because then you're just focused on what you're doing. But if you're in here, you can come sit on a Chesterfield sofa and just chill out and have a coffee, and then we sort of find that the creative juices flow quite a lot more.
So much so that we had a break room across the corridor.
Yeah, we did.
It's not been used once. Every time we've had a band in, we've had quite a few in now. They've all been here on this sofa, just staring at us.
I mean, we sort of thought, get drums out of the way, and the drummer will, he'll want to go off for a fag or watch Netflix. Not used once.
Yeah, we've got a room with a TV and a sofa and everything. They never used it, so we're turning that into something else now.
To a second mixing room.
Space.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. And do you think perhaps that's why artists do keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and why it's sort of, as you say, it's becoming almost a community room?
I think the main thing we really pride ourselves on is care. We've had experience when you've gone in and when you start, get in there, get ready. You should be prepared this and this.
Yeah, it's all very much like a checklist scenario.
Exactly. Yeah. And we sort of really like just getting friendly with the client, just making sure that they understand what page we're on, and we actually become part of the creative process. A lot of people come and they go, I've got this idea, but I don't know how to do it. I don't have a producer, so what would you guys recommend? We say, well, we've got all these instruments available to us. We play different instruments. We can go down this route. What sort of references are you using? So it's all part of the writing process as well, not just sort of you're here for us to record and then we'll make it sound good and then send it out. It's sort of getting them really engaged with their work, really.
But on the other hand, some people really do like that checklist approach. They like to go into the studio and have someone tell them, all right, sit down here, play when I tell you to, and then you can leave. And some people just love it and they want to get the record made, and they want, and it's fair enough. And, I used to do it like that. But I just find it's a bit more fun to be able to, have a bit of banter,
exactly,
and, act like an idiot and stuff like that.
If you scheduled your time in, and then you go, right, guitars are done, we've got half an hour, let's get some pedals out and just have some fun and
mess
see
around
if
and see if anything sticks. Yeah, and it's better for your mental health as well, because you can have fun while you're doing it, and the artist loves it as well most of the time. And sometimes it can end up with a bit more interesting output, can't it?
Yeah. Something they come in and they don't expect you're going to leave with that at all, and they go, I really like that. Let's stick that on the track.
Yeah, so we've done some very experimental stuff.
Definitely.
And do you think that's something that's lacking in music studios, maybe in Nottingham or generally in the music industry, as sort of a studio that can provide a friendly face and just something a bit more chill and fun?
I don't necessarily think that. I think a lot of people come to the studio environment and they have fun and whatever. I think it's maybe when you start getting involved on the label side of things or start pushing yourself, and they go, you've got this money, you're going to be working with this person, which can sometimes be great. And as Fred said, it's great to sometimes be organised. But in our situation, just sort of trying to help the local community and really push the music scene here, it is nice to sort of get people to know our faces, if that makes sense.
Just want to help people make their work, their art, because I say this all the time, but if we don't do it, and if everyone else who works in the recording industry around here, hats off to all of them, the work just won't get made, and all credit to DIY recording, but coming to the studio and really imagining a song and seeing it develop from start to finish, and then getting released and getting gigged, toured, etc. It's a lot more fulfilling than the way I make music, which is I just make it on my laptop, put it on SoundCloud, and it gets about 30 plays. Yeah. It's a lot more fulfilling. Hence why I work in recording.
Yeah. Grand. So, what sort of role would you say Mount Street Studios does play, or can play, or could play in Nottingham's art and music scene?
Help. Art is just a series of cogs, in a big clockwork machine. Really bad analogy, but like I say, it takes a lot of people to make, for instance, for us in our context, a record. It takes a lot of people to make it happen. A lot of people might disagree with me about that. It's fair enough. We've got friends from Falmouth who would insist on recording in garages and doing that kind of thing, but that's okay because that's an aesthetic. If you want to look at it that way, I guess this is our aesthetic. but it takes a lot of people to make a record happen, and it's not with recording. It's not really about I did this, we did that, and look at us. It's more about all of us together have made this project happen. Sure, it might say song by artist, but behind all of that, there's all us. There's the people who will have worked in the administration of the record, distribution,
PR,
production, PR, marketing. The list goes on and on and on. And we're just one tiny part of a bigger machine. So we just pride ourselves on being able to do that, I suppose.
I think when we set up this place, we did sort of a lot of market research, and the talent in Nottingham is just ridiculous. As I said, I've never been to Nottingham until I met my Mr. at university.
No, you hadn't lived yet.
I hadn't lived, yeah, exactly. You pies.
Pies.
And then I came here and I was just like, there's so many different venues. If you've never done a gig standing up or in front of people, you can just go, and you don't necessarily need to be at Bodega or one of these places. You can just people who are just chilling out and having a pint, and they go, oh, that's quite nice to hear some background music. And as Fred said, it's sort of like, wow, all this talent on offer and all these places which are generating. It is to sort of help people, encourage people, and as Fred said, everyone can easily make stuff on GarageBand now and Logic, and it's what we sort of spoke about earlier, so people come in for the actual process and they like that it's not just I'm in my room and I've got this is what I have to do this all myself. I'm putting this and this input in. So you're here to sort of just work people, and that's what we're trying to do, is help people have the confidence to make their music sound good, not for silly £1,000 a day recording prices like you would pay in London.
Yeah, that's just normal now, isn't it?
I feel confident to go, this is my music. A lot of people at Falmouth when you're at university would just be like, I've got 2 albums worth of music, but don't really want to push it out.
Yeah, I'm not really keen on putting it out there. But I mean, when you're a bit younger and you're at uni age, or the age that the majority of people go to uni, I think it's understandable to be a little apprehensive to try and get into the industry. I mean, a lot of people want to do it, but it's really not as easy anymore, is it? Well, I don't know, I wasn't alive in the 70s, but to me it seems a lot more like the industry was maybe a bit more, I'm not going to say easy to get into, but maybe a little more acceptant of music. because the tools are so democratized now, and everyone, I mean, we have Pro Tools and we've got a console and analog equipment and lovely rooms, which is amazing, but anyone who's got a USB microphone, a laptop, an Audacity could make a hit record. You know, theoretically, it's like giving, I mean, this is a really bad comparison, but you know, a million monkeys, a million typewriters, they're going to write The Tempest or something like that after X amount of years, aren't they? You know, great examples are all out there, like Burial, Grimes, loads of people made their records on GarageBand and stuff like that, and now they're sold out tours, you know, selling out their albums. Of course, I mean, they probably took it to a studio after they wrote it on their laptop, but you can see what I mean, you know.
Yeah. And sort of taking it away from the studio specifically, I want to talk a bit about Nottingham's art music scene generally. So we were talking earlier how a lot of people, and there's very much this tendency to go down to London, a bit like Ollie, to be drawn to that because there is a lot available, but it's also a very saturated industry. Do you think, therefore, that leaves places like Nottingham, but smaller cities like Nottingham, there's a lot more opportunity, would you say?
I think it really depends, because it's a global market. You know, I mean, even me putting my 2-minute songs or whatever on SoundCloud, someone from, I don't know, Japan, someone from Russia, someone from South America, someone from Egypt, whatever, someone might hear it that is millions of miles away. Not really millions, thousands, but you know, like someone might hear it that's on the other side of the proverbial world. And if I was on the street handing out CDs, that probably wouldn't happen. So I think, you're right, it's saturated. We all know the music industry is saturated to the point of maybe oversaturation, but it's becoming in recent years more about what you can do as an individual. You don't have to get a £1 million record deal anymore to strike fame. If you've heard of Wolfpack, they're a funk band from California, and they just do everything themselves. Fairly shoddy production and all that stuff, questionable videos, that kind of thing. But it's really struck a chord because everything's so polished and, you know, I'm not manufactured in a bad way, but everything is very glitzy and professional these days because of the industry and the standards that are set. Something like that really came along, and people were like, "Whoa, you know, what is this?" And I think that's probably why they did so well with it. So I think it's a hard question to answer, if you know what I mean. I've kind of gone off on a little ramble there, but it is a global industry. So,
I think with Nottingham, it literally is a bubble ready to explode, and that's what sort of we're trying to put the building blocks in place. You're never going to be able to move Sony, Island Records, Universal out of London. They are there for good. But if you can sort of start creating that funnel of, you know, what we've got here is we can have these contacts in place and then slowly not just go, right, well, can I send my demo to Island Records or something like that? It's Nottingham's full of all this talent ready to explode. And so if people like us can do our bit and make people feel confident with their stuff, and if we know someone here which might help them out, then great, we'll send them that way. But I think it's a very, very promising city at the moment. Yeah.
Good stuff. Bit of a random one. What are your favourite venues in Nottingham?
I'm a big fan of Bodega.
Yeah.
I do love Bodega. But I've also seen a few open nights at Pepper Rocks, which is just, the vibe's sort of similar here, that sort of dark, misty sort of thing. And that's just somewhere I've been on nights out and I've seen people play there, and I thought, yeah, this is just quite relaxing. Still yet to go to Peggy's Skylight, but that's right up our street because we love our jazz and live music. So I think the best gig I've seen, unfortunately, wasn't a Nottingham artist, but was Alpha Mist.
Yeah,
who played at the Bodega
that
and was just
incredible. Pure
very,
musicianship.
very, yeah, exactly. Everyone just knew their bit, and it was just one of those gigs that just went perfectly. Yeah.
I would say Rock City, but I'm too small. I saw John Grant there the other week, and I've been building up to that gig for months. I get in there, and it's immediately some 6 foot tall bloke stands right in front of me. I'm just kind of like, that happens every time. So I'd probably say Rescue Rooms is my favourite venue. The Bodega's hot on the heels there, but I saw Wild Beasts at Rescue Rooms donkeys years ago now when they were still a band, and it was just incredible.
But that's the good thing about Nottingham is you've got places like Bodega, which are relatively small, but they're still attracting names. Then you go up a bit, which is Rock City, which obviously has got so much history.
Yeah.
But then you've also got the arena.
Historical
and people,
floor.
Well, hot historical floor. But you've got the arena, which are going to bring people like Jess Glynn and all these top 40 people. So you've got the mixture of
got
all different platforms, really, which is great.
You look hard enough, there's all sorts of stuff happening behind, I'm not going to say behind closed doors, but you know what I mean? You don't have to go to the name venues. There's plenty of stuff happening, maybe even in a place like this, you know. And that's the same everywhere, of course, but Nottingham's got a nice little culture for that kind of thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I suppose the obvious question will be, what are your hopes, dreams and plans for the future with the studio? Will there be another sessions, do we reckon?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's definitely one in the pipeline. We work really closely with the Harley J Trust, which are a charity based in Nottingham, so we're probably going to be doing a night on for them as well. But we're in talks with certain artists at the moment to sell on the new another sessions gig, which from the feedback we had went really well, so I don't think we're going to change much. I think it's
if it works, don't fix it.
If it works, don't fix it. The studio, I think it's sort of, as long as we can keep our reputation up and people enjoying what's coming out and they enjoy the experience here, then that's great, and hopefully that will continue.
Keep on keeping on, really, isn't it?
Keep on keeping on, and then we're also setting up the publishing side of the business. So as we spoke about earlier, we work with some close friends from Falmouth, Bristol, London. And they come up here, and you know, if we like a track that they might have written, then we might co-write some of it, or and we get it to a place, and then the context that we've built in place over meeting certain people will go, right, well, could this work in an advert? Could this work in a film? So we're always on the lookout for writers, which we do feel has that certain something, not just I want to make a track and come to a studio and hopefully I'll be on the next Disney film. It's people
looking
who
for people who have a passion for music. So
exactly
songwriters, we want you.